What's up, everyone? Can you go broke taking profits? Today, we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about some of the psychology behind some typical trader shortfalls in their decision making, specifically as it pertains to something called the disposition effect. So as we go through this video, I'm going to help you identify some of these common trader biases, what the disposition effect is and how it really can negatively impact your trading performance, and then this idea of letting winners work, because all too often we hear things like nobody goes broke taking their profits. But the problem is that creates a scenario where we tend to take our profits too fast, and then we're not managing our losses as quickly as we should. And that opens up an entire problem that we're going to talk about and how to navigate around it, along with end of the video, some really simple things you can integrate into your trading to overcome this entire process. So what's up, everyone? Eric here from ES Invests. And in order to kick us off the right way, we got to start with, a disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor. Nothing here should be taken as individualized financial advice. This is all just sharing of information. I am not a part of Bar Chart. They're just my friends. I enjoy making content with them for you all so that we can share quality information and try to help people navigate this crazy world of trading that we are in. Okay. So let's talk about this thing, trader psychology. It's kind of straightforward, you would think, but let's take a step back and begin here. What if I showed you a strategy where you have 92 winning trades, just 8 losers? So you have a win probability of 92%. Would you guess, or would you say that this is a successful trading system? Throw it in the comments. And I'll answer you now, because most people would probably wager yes. Now, based on the context of the video, you might be perceptive and understand that there's a problem here, which I'm going to show you right now. But a lot of people would take this really high win rate thinking that this is a great strategy. And in order to obtain a win rate like this, you typically are going to have pretty small wins. It means that you're going to be taking trades down pretty quickly, unless you're just really good at picking direction, which this video is probably not for you anyways. You're out there doing your thing. But for most people that will obtain these kinds of really high win rates, it's typically tied to lower win amounts. So then what happens eventually, even if it's infrequently, just 8 times, eventually we take some losers. And in this case, we're looking at our average loss being around $115. This is a primary example of common trader behavior. So what does this yield? Well, before fees, taxes, all that stuff, this yields us something that I would call neutrally expectant. So this doesn't mean that you're losing money in this scenario, and I didn't want to go to that kind of extreme. But what I wanted to show you is that with something that has really small wins, not crazy large losses on a relative basis, these are big, but they're so infrequent. There's just 8 of them, that you can do all of this and still have something that returns you nothing before you include taxes, fees, stuff like that. So can you go broke taking profits? Potentially. And it's because of this concept called expectancy or expected return, which we're going to talk about more as we get further into the video. But I wanted to start with this to give you some context. So next thing here is this idea of trading psychology is really the primary differentiator for successful traders and not successful traders. And I know that might sound weird because, realistically, the primary differentiator is deciphering and providing yourself with some sort of edge. But the reason why I say this, we all have access to the same tools. We can use the same platforms. You can pop on to Bar Chart just as I can and take a look through their tools and find different information that might help inform your decision making. And realistically, the information that we get as retail traders is really not anything great compared to what the institutional side will see. So then how is it that some people take this information and turn it into a successful strategy and others don't? And a lot of it comes down to psychology. We have access to the same information. So why does this matter so much? Well, because we know that a large cohort of traders struggle to a pretty significant degree. And we can kind of visualize that if we just overview some basic statistics regarding trader profitability, and these are all taken from different studies. You can always look these up on your own. I have an entire list on my website that goes through, do traders make money? And these are not things that I'm saying. These are things, again, from papers off of places like SSRN. So the punchline here, though, is that most people don't stay in the market beyond 5 years. And there is an overwhelming underperformance of traders with how they compare against the market in and of itself. So what happens here? Well, a lot of this comes down to this: a list of issues with the way we think about the markets. And I want to draw your attention to one in particular, this very first one. It's called the disposition effect. This is where we have a tendency to want to cut winning trades too short and allow losing trades to run, which is also called loss aversion on that side. Why does this matter so much? Well, because it is literally biologically written into the way your world is perceived by your brain. And what that means is we love the sensation of being right. That encourages our ego. We love that. We like making money. It's another really positive emotion. Both of those occur when you take a winning trade down, even if it's a little one. Meanwhile, the process of booking a losing trade is really difficult because it directly goes against your ego, because we're confirming that we're wrong. We no longer have the hope that this thing might turn around and start going back in our favor. And it also solidifies the fact that you've now lost money. The trade is off. It doesn't have the ability to make the money back. So that's exactly where this tendency to want to take winning trades when they're really small because we like realizing them, and then allow the losing trades to go because we just want to hope that eventually it's going to come back and we can make them money back. So we are filled with these decision-making faults and cognitive biases. So when we think about the application of a strategy, we have to be aware of these so that we're not mistakenly or unknowingly committing a lot of these unnecessary mistakes that lead to poor decision-making. So let's now talk about this idea of allowing your winners to work. It's going to come down to this concept of expected return. This is where we strike a balance between the probability of us winning a trade and the size of the win, compared to the probability of us losing a trade and the size of the loss. This will add a lot of clarity to what you're doing so that then you can conduct a thoughtful analysis about how you want this trade to go. So then how do we allow our winning trades to make sense and the losing trades also to make sense? First, we have to start with our trade analysis, where we think something is going to go, why we have this idea that it's going to go up, down, whatever your thesis is. In the process of doing that, we have to set our P&L targets. So if we're trading something, for example, like Apple, and you think it's going to go one direction or the other, it doesn't really matter for the example. Let's say you think it's going to go down until it hits this little area in here, down to like 210, 205, something like that, whatever. It doesn't matter necessarily where exactly. But what I want to show you is what you need to do is take a look at this, figure out where you think it's going to go based on your analysis, whether it's down or up. Then you need to try to figure out what the probability is of it going there. How do you do that? That's the cool part about things like options, because you can use option prices to determine expected moves. And bar chart has a great tool for this. So you can see, let's say that you want to hold Apple for a month. You can look out for something that's about 35 days. You can see what the current spot price is right here. And you can see what the expected move is, 1953 up or down. So then you can now come up with a probability of hitting these different price levels based on options. A lot of platforms will have different versions of these tools. You can get them down to the strike level, stuff like that, but you can use options to help with this probability analysis. It shouldn't be a random thing that you just come up with. That's not really good for much. But if you can use pricing of markets to help inform your probabilistic analysis, that's really useful. So now you can say, okay, if I'm going to put on my Apple trade and I want to know, I now know the probability of it going to those two different points based on that information. How much money would I make based on my position size or lose in both of those scenarios? Does that then have positive expected return? None of this should be random. So then we bake out our trade management plan, and you can use really cool tools like partial profits. So going back to this example, let's say instead that we think Apple's going to go up. Well, then maybe when it starts to get near this kind of first congestion area around 225-ish, in this scenario, maybe we take a third of the trade off. And again, you can do the math and see what size of the trade should come off and how much money you would make in that scenario to then make this entire scenario make sense. And you can update the loss side. So let's say, for example, you first put the trade on and you have your expected return calculation for the position, and then it works in your favor. It's up here. Do you want to keep the original loss target that you did before and the original loss amount? Maybe. And if so, that's okay. You can keep it like that. But maybe you decide that you're going to scoot your stop loss up now to 222. So then you can recalculate this based on the entire position to see what the overall profitability of the position will be. You can also do things like having a stop loss. You can either have a mental stop or a resting stop. You can use things like trailing stop losses that move with the position as it goes in your favor until it eventually stops you out. The point is, this process of deciding when you want to take trades down cannot be random. You have cognitive biases that lead you naturally to different directions, and it really should be based on this concept of expected return so that you know that you're taking good risk for the reward you expect to receive, and it balances out in the long run. So as always, if you have any questions, throw them in the comments below. Be an outlier, and we'll see you guys later.